Are you saying Todd makes you happy and Ben makes you disappointed?
Todd hasn't played much Magic this year. He's kind of taken just a little bit of a break for someone who's played a lot of Magic over the past 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
I think he's earned himself a little bit of a break. But Baltimore is about 3.5 hours away from Roanoke, which is where Todd lives, so it's not a far drive from him for him to come up and play. And it's, I always like watching Todd play.
Yeah.
Todd's always fun to watch play Magic. He's obviously very, very good. Most SCG Tour Open top 8s of all time. He's got a Players' Championship runner-up, Players' Championship top 4, Invitational title, all that stuff to his name. And then on the other side, you've got Ben Friedman, a carefree, wonderful man.
Well, and they're both very good gamers.
Yes.
That's what I like. I wouldn't put either of these guys into a box. Like, Todd likes to go rogue sometimes, play his own thing. Sometimes he likes to show up with just the best deck.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Friedman is kind of the same way, like where he wants to try something new and innovative at points. Other times he wants to play something established and just try to trounce on people.
Yep.
And so I appreciate that these players have the flexibility to play a lot of different decks.
Yeah, they can play basically anything.
Yeah.
Control, aggro, mid-range, something wonky, which they're both kind of doing today as we are underway here in game number 1 between Anderson and Friedman. Todd going to start things off with a mulligan, keep Scry to the top, and now he's got a polluted Delta.
Which, this is the most pedestrian start for Death Shadow.
Yeah, not doing
ever.
much of anything. Yeah.
Like, just turn 1, fetch land, pass.
Yeah. Seems like it would be more of a Grixis control deck, more than what it actually is, which is something Todd is very familiar with. As here's a Faithless Looting from Ben. He's going to sacrifice a Stomping Ground.
Ooh.
And Stubborn Denial going to get you. He got a basic mountain off of that Stomping Ground, so he's only going to fall down to 19, while Todd's going to, of course, bring himself down to 17, given the deck that he's playing. But Faithless Looting has been Stubborn Denial, and that's actually pretty real.
Yeah.
That's a real blow.
Yeah, it's important for this Dredge deck to start getting some cards into his graveyard early and snowball out of control that way. And that was a very good exchange for Todd.
Oh. Anderson now will play a Swamp. It's a Inquisition of Kozilek. We're going to get a good look at Ben's hand. He's got a Conflagrate, and he's got another Faithless Looting. And then he's just got lands in Blood Crypt, Stomping Ground, Dalkmore Salvage, and Gemstone Mine. So Todd's going to take his other copy of Faithless Looting, and Ben's hand stinks.
It's cumbersome.
Yes.
It's really, without the Faithless Lootings to churn through the deck, he's just plodding along over there.
Serum Visions will allow Todd to draw a card. He'll split the pair on the Scry. I believe he put Fatal Push to the bottom, Mystery card on top.
Yep.
And now Ben will play a Stomping Ground tapped and simply pass back the turn. Anderson's going to untap and draw for his 3rd turn of the game. Steam Vents in hand. See if he wants to go there or his fetch line. Remember, he's playing Death Shadow. He's going to want him himself as low as possible. So down to at least 16, potentially 14 here from the Bloodstained Mire.
So here's a question, Cedric.
Hopefully I have an answer.
We had someone queued up last round
The one and only Kevin Jones.
for a feature match.
That's correct.
And then we did not have a Kevin Jones feature match.
He's a little busy. He's a little busy.
Has there been any revelation as to what happened there?
I haven't heard much about it. I'll let the father himself, El Papi, if you follow him on social media, maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out why Kevin Jones wasn't available for his feature match area. There's only one Kevin.
But he has been located.
He is in the building.
Okay.
He is in the building. We know that he is here.
All right.
And we're glad to have him. We're glad to have him.
All right, I'm looking forward to finding out what happened.
Grand Prix Montreal champion, KJ. Here's a Faithless Looting from Ben Friedman. He'll flash that back. Discarding a Conflagrate and a Dalkmore Salvage, and that will be his turn. You saw on Anderson's turn, he played a big boy, as you like to say.
Yeah, that's a fatty boombalatti. Back where I come from.
The Grimag Angler is a fatty boombalatti. Here's a Thoughtseize from Todd. Gonna take a Cathartic Reunion. Ben's hand continues to stink.
Well, and we could see how desperate Ben was to churn through his deck. He had to find a dredge card, a better payoff dredge card right away, and he didn't find it, and he's going to just dredge for 2 with Dalkmore Salvage here, which is not powerful at all. He's got all those lands in his hand. He wanted to have been discarding all of them right away.
Not the worst dredge I've ever seen, finding a Thug in a Wooded Foothill, simply because now he can kind of chain a little bit with the Faithless Looting that's in his graveyard. So,
Yeah, it gets things started.
Yeah.
But the problem is he's already under a clock from a 5/5 on the other side.
Yep.
He wanted to be doing that on turn 2.
Yeah.
You know? Now he's on turn 4. He's already taken a bunch of damage. Todd has untapped mana, do what he wants with.
Here's Faithless Looting. He's going to start by dredging the Thug, and now he's going to dredge a Loam. He did find a prize Amalgam in there. Now here's a couple copies of Narcomoeba. So even though he's off to a pretty slow and cumbersome start, he's actually done okay here with the dredging. 2 Narcomoebas will enter the battlefield. Prize Amalgam will trigger as well. It'll, of course, enter the battlefield tapped here in a bit. Ben may have a land to play, as there is the illusion in Narcomoeba. He's thinking about what land he wants to play here. Going to go with the Stomping Ground. And now here comes Prize Amalgam, and now we're going to head back over to Todd Anderson, who's picked up a copy of Serum Visions.
Oh, I'd forgotten that Todd had mulliganed several times to start this match. He does not have a whole lot of resources to work with.
Yeah, I think he's got a Tassiger left in hand. Serum Visions is going to give him some new cards. Looks like he's going to scry one to the top, the other to the bottom. Now he's got to work his way through these stinking Narcomoebas. Angler will be blocked. And we'll see what Anderson wants to do here on his second main phase, if anything. You see it's a Bloodstained Mire and I believe a Tassiger.
Does look like Tassiger, and I can't imagine he wouldn't just deploy it here.
He's going to start by sacrificing the Bloodstained Mire. See what land he wants to get if he wants to go lower. Again, he's playing Death Shadow. Whenever you're playing this deck, Craig, you are kind of walking the tightrope, I would say.
Yeah, and that's the question that Todd is asking himself is, what am I going to draw over the next couple of turns? What do I need to do? You know, he's thinking ahead here.
Tasker's going to come down. He's going to delve away 3 cards. He's going to leave Serum Visions in the graveyard. Now here's a dredge of the Thug. Narcomoeba will enter the battlefield yet again. The rest of the cards will go to the graveyard, and Thug will go to the grip here for Ben. Now do remember, does have a copy of Conflagrate in hand. He's had that for a little while.
I think it's in the graveyard at this point.
It looks like, yeah, now it is in the graveyard now. He does have Loam, a Darkmar Salvage.
And Loam is the big payoff for the Conflagrate.
Mm-hmm.
You just get juice up your whole hand, make it massive.
And with Todd at 11, it is not out of the question that we see just a big fireball going upstairs to Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got the Narcomoebas. Help me out here. Narcomoeba?
Narcomoebas.
Narcomoebas?
Narcomoebas. Jellyfish, illusions.
Sure. He's got those blobs in play that he can block with. You know? So he's going to be able to buy himself a little bit of time. The Tassiger was really good for Todd last turn. It holds off the Prize Amalgam for a turn, and then it turns into offense.
I love the attacks. Love it. Todd's ready to lose all of his stuff. Yeah, because Ben's going to play Loam, get back 3 lands, Conflagrate, kill all of his stuff, and simply pass the turn back.
Yeah, a lot of shortcutting there where he was just like, I'm getting these 3 back. I'm immediately going to discard them again to flash back the Conflagrate. Clear your whole board.
Thought Scour from Anderson was his top deck. He'll turn over 2 cards, draw a fresh one.
Yeah,
Did he draw anything relevant?
I didn't realize Ben had enough cards already. That was a good one.
That was a good one. He drew Kolaghan's Command, kills an Narcomoeba, gets back Tassiger, and now replays Tassiger, delving away his entire graveyard besides Kolaghan's Command. So now Ben Friedman is going to dredge life from the Loam. Ben Friedman's going to cast life from the Loam. Got a little bit of an interesting game here.
Yeah, this is more back and forth than I thought we were going to get.
Yeah, based off of Todd's mulligan and then Todd getting off to a good start with the Angler and Ben doing nothing for, the first 4 turns of the game, basically?
Yeah, the stubborn denial was huge.
Yeah, didn't do anything, and now all of a sudden he's doing a lot. Looks like he's going to play another copy of Faithless Looting, I believe. So he's going to start by dredging Stinkweed Imp. He's going to dredge 2 Imps, a Bloodghast, a Cathartic Union, and another copy of Conflagrate. And now he'll dredge another Imp, 5 cards, Loam, Bloodghast, Cathartic Reunion, Collective Brutality, and Dark Blast. He has to discard 2 cards, so he'll discard an Imp and a Gemstone Mine.
Yep. He played his land for this turn. But those blood gas are going to be online next turn.
And hasty.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they're online, it means the prize amalgams are online again.
Yep. Then kind of the dredge engine.
Yeah.
I guess, for lack of a better term, is going then. Here comes Narcomoeba. Anderson's going to untap. This is a pretty important draw step here for Todd because he's in some trouble now. As he falls down to 9.
Looks like Thoughtseize.
Blech.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, once the dredge deck gets half of its library into its graveyard, it's just not playing fair anymore.
Yep. It's very, very relentless in its nature when it is doing these things. So just being able to consistently recur blood gas and prize amalgams. It is worth noting, Ben only has 1 prize amalgam in the graveyard right now, so it's not a huge recur of resources.
Sure.
He's going to start by dredging Loam, Conflagrate, Haunted Dead, which is actually a pretty big one, and another copy of Loam.
All of these cards, I mean, the possibilities that he has to work with now, just out of control. Todd has Tassiger over there ready to go.
That's it.
He's got the K command in the graveyard. It's a powerful interaction, but I can't imagine there's going to be enough in this game.
I would be surprised, especially because Ben's at 12. He's at a pretty healthy life total, and now he's loaming. Could be setting up another large Conflagrate.
Yep. All those creatures are coming back.
So he's going to get those 3 lands back.
And Todd could just mill over a Stinger with the Tasker activation.
Yeah, just another discard spell.
Yeah.
Fatal Push.
Yeah.
Something that's really bad.
Another Thoughtseize.
Yeah.
Sure, man.
That's all you. You can have one of those. Ben taking a long look through his graveyard now. Gonna play Gemstone Mine. 3 mining counters on the land. Blood Ghasts are back, which means Prize Amalgam will trigger, and that's why Ben's put it to the side.
He's doing a double check here, make sure he's not missing anything. There's a lot of cards to work with.
Yeah, Dredge such a weird deck because it's basically the graveyard is an extension of your hand. Most of the time you want the cards just in your graveyard. There are times where you want some cards in your hand. You can do some hard casting of things. You do take a draw step occasionally. But for Friedman, it's 3 lands and a Stinkweed Imp in hand, and 2 Conflagrates in the graveyard. There's also some other cards worth mentioning, like Life from the Loam and Dark Blast. Looks like he might just get in with all the creatures here now. Tasker is going to block a Bloodghast. Anderson will take 3. He's going to fall down to 6. And now, ooh, Stinky Inky. That's how you know things are going good.
Yeah, when the Imp can get frisky.
Yeah, when you can hardcast Stinkweed Imp, life's not too bad. Tasker will go active, and Ben's going to give Todd a Death Shadow back.
How funny is that?
Yeah, that's true.
When you can just be like, oh, take the 7/7 for 1.
Yeah, have your namesake card, gigantic creature. I don't want you to have Kolaghan's command. Todd drew a copy of Lightning Bolt, and he knows he's dead to Conflagrate.
Yeah.
That's kind of the inevitability with the deck, right?
Yes.
Where you can think about that. Think about that game a little bit. As Ben Friedman wins game number 1 over Todd Anderson, Dredge have a game over Grixis Death Shadow, but Friedman did nothing on the first 3 turns, basically. Like, he got his Faithless Looting Stubborn Island, and then his other Faithless Looting got hit by an Inquisition of Kozilek. Then he flashed back Faithless Looting on turn 3, and then he finally got the ball rolling, and it was good enough.
Yeah.
A little surprising, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Todd only had one dude on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big guy, but came down on turn 3.
Yeah.
A little bit slow for him, and just wasn't enough.
Yeah, just kind of slow out of the gates there for both players. Friedman able to get the snowball going, as you mentioned. He does win game number 1. So now we'll go to the sideboards here. We'll start with Todd Anderson, who's got 3 Ceremonious Rejection. He's ready for Aetherworks Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Smart. Really, really ready for that. 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Nile Spellbound, 2 Stubborn Nile, 2 Surgical Extraction. And the fun ofs in Kolaghan's Command, Kozilek's Return, Is It Static Caster, and Liliana the Last Hope. What do we like here against Dredge outside of the obvious graveyard removal cards?
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious cards here are the Nile Spellbombs and the Surgical Extractions. They're going to come in. They're spectacular in this matchup. Surgical Extraction in particular, costing 0 mana and being instant speed, is a great one. It's kind of interesting. It depends on how Todd thinks this matchup is going to play out. He might want a couple more stubborn denials in his deck. He can get one of his big dredge creatures, big delve creatures onto the board and just protect it with a stubborn denial. So I could see that. A lot of these other cards, I mean, is it Staticaster is kind of interesting. Is this a card that he might potentially want to mow down a lot of these 1 toughness creatures?
Kills Bloodcast, kills Narcomoeba.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
But it's not great either. It's not proactive in any sense.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how Todd goes with his sideboarding.
For Ben, 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Engineered Explosives, 3 Maelstrom Pulse, 3 Thoughtseize, a Vengeful Pharaoh, and an Ancient Grudge. Leyline is kind of interesting against Todd's deck, I think.
It's a little bit interesting. Todd has a whole lot of targeting effects, but there's also the flip side where Todd can just cycle a few cards, play a giant delve creature on turn 3, and just not care a whole lot about this. Oh, the Leyline stops the delve cards.
It will stop the delve cards, yeah.
Why did I say that?
I'm not sure. I was letting you go, and I figured you'd figure it out.
I have confused my 2 Leylines.
Yeah, the problem, so I guess Leyline of the Void, obviously, start the game with it, it's awesome.
Yes.
You draw it, it's not.
Well, it's not, but the dredge deck, it's almost padded. It has insurance against drawing bad cards in the mid-game because it just wants to discard so many cards anyway.
That's true.
So I could see him bringing in this card and being like, all right, great in the opener, and the mid-game, I'm just going to discard it.
Yeah, I mean, to Conflagrate or some other Haunted Dead, something like that. It's probably worth the risk to bring in. And if you do have it in your opening hand, it's awesome. And if you don't, you just play a normal game.
Yeah, Cathartic Reunion.
Faithless Looting, stuff like that. Yeah, okay. That's reasonable. We'll probably see that. I don't think we'll see much else. Maybe Thoughtseize from Ben.
The Vengeful Pharaoh is kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, because Todd's only got like so many creatures.
Yeah.
And it does kill those, so we might see that as well. So we'll see how both these players do sideboard. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about SCG Game Night, the very popular promotion. Thanks to you wonderful stores and players for keeping this thing going. For the month of May, not a lot of time left to pick up Imperious Perfect pins and tokens. Yes.
Cats are so in vogue right now.
Cats are so lame. I'm sorry. I hate cats so much. I said it.
You are just a terrible
person.
person.
I'm allergic to cats. I don't like them. I don't like them.
What do you mean you're allergic to cats?
I'm allergic to cats. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? I'm allergic to cats.
There are hypoallergenic pets.
Look, I'm allergic to cats. I don't know what to say. I'm not allergic to the fish.
So you're a big fan of the red carp?
I'm a big fan of murderous red carp pins and tokens, and I'm not allergic to geese either. So that means I like Goose's Saint Shraft. Go to StarCityGames.com/game night for more information. Find a game night near you. Pick up these awesome pins and tokens, including Imperious Perfect.
You've been putting a lot of work into designing these.
That's what I do in my spare time.
Yeah.
That's what I do in my spare time. We'll have a little spoiler for everybody. Might want to look out on the old Star City Games social media on Friday for our newest debut of the Creature Collection. Just might want to take a little look. I'm just saying, if you follow Star City Games on Twitter and you're friends with us on Facebook, check out those pages on Friday.
Look at you.
That's just a little teaser.
Look at you.
A little teaser for the people at home. Now,
just a little sugar.
Yeah, just a little sugar on top, a little sprinkle. Ben Friedman taking a mulligan, so perfect time to learn about him. There it is. Now there's the hat.
Why is that hat not here?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to him during a break. He normally has the cowboy hat with him. Now he's wearing his team's jersey right now. Team Metagame Gurus.
Yep.
Of course, Jim Davis, Ben Friedman, so many other players. But 40 card Freeman. 40 card Freeman, of course, because he used to dislike playing limited. Now he's good at it. Can easily go 40 hours without. Oh, come on, 6,000 calories. That is a lie. That is a lie. 48 hours without eating, has also eaten over 6,000 calories in a day.
I feel like...
Which one of those is a lie?
Either one is just a recipe for disaster.
6,000 calories?
Yeah. That just has to be big piles of sugar, right?
Now, you can find him writing fiction or hitting the gym when he's not playing Magic. That's fine. But 6,000 calories, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm a big guy. I don't need 6,000 calories in a day, ever.
What? I mean,
how do you do it? Like, if you're not like a competitive eater, or
wait, let's look at this. So 3 pretty big meals. You're eating like 3,000 calories in a day.
Yeah, like I would say like some pretty big meals. Like let's say if you were to go to like the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh yeah.
And you were
deep fried food, like, cheesecake dessert.
Somehow able to finish somehow able to finish all of your meals at the Cheesecake Factory, which is like borderline impossible. If you're able to finish a meal, that's like 1,500 calories, I think. Maybe 2,000.
But I guess this is what I'm saying. Yeah, if that's 1,500, 2,000.
Okay.
You don't think in your most ambitious day you could squeeze 5 of those meals in a day?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, of course not. You've been at Cheesecake Factory? No, what's wrong with you?
I was just seeing if I could get you to agree.
Yeah, no, of course not. Inquisition of Kozilek shows 2 cathartic reunions, a Golgari Thug, a Stinkweed Imp, and a Dakmor Savage. Reunion is gone. Todd will pass the turn back. He's at 17. Could you imagine seriously going to Cheesecake Factory twice in a day and finishing like your meal?
A meal and a dessert?
Not even like the dessert. Just like going there twice and just finishing each meal.
Dude,
like with the bread they give you.
Why am I going back a second time if I can't try a second type of cheesecake?
Okay, fine. You've had 2 pieces of cheesecake, you monster.
Yes.
You think you could just go top to bottom, smash 2 things at the Cheesecake Factory?
No.
No, of course not. 6,000 calories. I've got some serious questions. Like if you're a professional wrestler like Braun Strowman or something, you need to eat a lot. Fine.
That's no problem for them.
No, of course not. Competitive eater, athlete. You churn through calories and you do 2 a days. Have you seen Ben Friedman?
He doesn't strike you.
He doesn't do 1 a day. All right. He's an in shape guy. 6,000 calories. I don't buy it. Gonna have to have a little chat there with old 40 card after the match about lack of hat.
I mean, you. When I say you are Star City Games, right?
I could be seen.
You're the face of Star City.
I could be seen as part of the
I
empire.
feel like you're directly responsible for these slides.
No, that's not true. I'm not going to take that burden.
You made that slide and put it up there, and now you're arguing with the slide.
I made that slide last night before I went to bed.
Yeah, see?
While we were watching King Kong.
Where is King Kong in that movie? I fell asleep after an hour and a half, and there was no giant gorilla yet.
No, there was. Now, this is important to note. It was 2005 King Kong with Jack Black. It's not the new one. Because I think in the new one, even though I haven't seen it yet, King Kong shows up early and often.
Oh, I bet.
Because that's the most important part of the movie. Here's a Death Shadow, BT dub. But that Jack Black King Kong, that's a rough movie. I'm not sure I can trust the Rotten Tomatoes ratings on anything now. Because it has like an 84%.
All right. Todd does have...
Namesake card.
Is it Staticaster in his hand?
Not too surprising, I don't think.
Which I guess is versatile enough in this matchup.
I would argue for is it Staticaster? It's just a one-of. And there are enough bad cards in Todd's deck that he can find room for just boarding one of those.
Sure. And it's kind of good on offense and defense.
It's an 0-3.
Well, I mean, you're either gunning down the vampires.
Okay.
Which is good defensively.
Yeah, killing blood gas. Okay.
Or you're killing the blobs in the air.
Yeah, killing Archimedes. Okay.
Which is good offensively.
That's true. You just don't you don't get to kill Stinkweed Imp, but at the same time, I don't want to say you're ever losing to Stinkweed Imp, but it can be a bit of a hazard. Like on a battlefield like this, if Ben were to play a Stinkweed Imp, it would be kind of annoying, and he does have one in his hand. So I will say that. However, Ben's got some bigger problems right now, as he has to Ghost Quarter his own land after floating a mana. My goodness, that's a surgical extraction.
And we can appreciate that.
So Ben has a Cathartic Reunion in his graveyard. He's got a Ghost Quarter and a Dakmor Savage. And so he says, I'm going to float a black. I'll Ghost Quarter my own land. Probably going to go get a basic mountain so he can play another Cathartic Reunion. And Todd says, I'm going to surgical extraction your Cathartic Reunion. And Ben said, I don't want to play anymore.
That's enough for me.
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
There you go. Now that's modern right there. That's modern. A real blowout, pretty fast game. And now we're looking at sideboards again. That's what I'm talking about.
It did involve a mulligan to 5.
Well, yeah. Mulligan's all part of it.
No, it is.
Especially in Modern. I feel like, what do you think your average starting hand size is in Modern for a tournament? You're playing a Modern tournament, you play 15 rounds here this weekend.
It's got to be much smaller than Standard.
It's got to be it's like 6 something? Or is it 5 point something?
No, probably, I don't know, it depends on the makeup of the decks in the room.
Agreed. I mean, you could play against anything, so you probably have to mulligan a lot because you can't cover everything. Like, if you're keeping...
But I also mean, like, the decks themselves, some decks are more prone to mulliganing than others.
That's true. I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say, like, your average starting hand size in Modern for making a deep run is like 5.9.
Huh. That would be interesting to know.
Yeah. Hey, Frank Carson's probably not busy. He could probably figure it out.
He probably already has an answer.
Yeah, it's actually true. He's probably already written an article about it because he's a genius. Todd Anderson does win game number 2 here over Ben Friedman. These players are already shuffling up here for game number 3. So while they do that, we're going to talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter, which you can find Todd Anderson sometimes and many of other Star City Games content producers, as it is your source.
Who else?
For Magic the Gathering news. You know, you've been in there before.
I have.
I've been in there before, and there's Ross Merriam's mug.
Yeah.
Curious if Ross is here. This is the kind of weekend he'd probably lay back and contemplate life and why the Jazz are so bad. Anyway.
Gotta get your shot in,
anyway,
huh? Yeah.
Highlights from some of our best articles, upcoming SCG Tour dates and locations. We're talking IQs, we're talking game nights near you, and of course an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, it's free to sign up for. Go to StarCityGames.com/newsletter to learn more information. And now we're getting ready for game number 3. See if these players can keep 7-card hands, even though it's unlikely. Doesn't happen all that much. Todd's taking a look at his. Looks like Ben is taking a mulligan because that's what Dredge does. So we will...
Todd looks fairly happy there, but he's got quite the poker face, so...
Is that a poker face?
That's just a happy man.
That's a happy face right there. Only 31 top 8s. Do you have 31 of anything?
No.
I don't have 31 of anything.
No, I'm 35 years old, but I've lost at least 5 or 6 of them somewhere along the way.
I guess I'm 31, so that's the only 31 that I have. You got 6 open wins, 3 invitational top 8s, 1 invitational win. Whoa, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. When did we update this?
I love the updated slides.
When did we update this? Beat me and Patrick at NBA Jam using a computer. That's a lot. That's not true.
Man.
That is not true.
He just really went after your manhood.
Jumped over the catcher and was safe once after watching Major League. Okay, that's a good reference. And has an old cat, a blind cat, and a dumb cat. Now that is true.
Are those? Is that the same cat?
No, he's got multiple cats. He's got an old cat, a blind cat, and a dumb cat. That's definitely true.
I didn't know if that was the same cat described 3 different ways.
That first line is a lie, and I demand that this slide be updated immediately.
I feel like if anything on there is true, then it's got to all be true.
No.
Because you've confirmed the cat thing.
This is back to the match. Get this off my screen.
And you don't like
cats.
Down.
Get that down. I like Todd's cats well enough.
Here's a question. How are you so bad at NBA Jam that you lost to a computer?
That's not... If I could cut to a commercial right now, I would. I would.
Well, you can't, so can you answer the question?
Patrick and I are great at NBA Jam. We are great. And we have lost to Todd before when he's got Tom Ross on his team or an active person. We never lost him with the computer.
I'm going to have to ask Todd about this.
Yeah, get his side of the story.
I'll go straight to the horse's mouth.
Get his side of the story.
We can't trust you in this situation.
Go, Ben!
Wow.
Keep 6. It's a heel turn of epic proportions here by Todd. Ben's on 5 cards again.
Just keep yelling, keep 6.
Yeah, keeps scrying to the bottom, obviously. It's going to sacrifice a fetch land.
Yeah, Ben does have a little bit of that scry baby look about him after mulliganing to 5 cards.
Scry baby's nice.
Yeah.
I like that. He's going to get a stomping ground. He's going to play Faithless Looting.
But Dredge is one of those decks where it's just like...
You can mold a 5.
You can mold a 3, and if you're just like turn 1 looting Dredge card...
Yeah, you're okay.
You're just like...
He's got another looting, and he's got a Thug, and he's also got a Maelstrom Pulse.
This hand actually looks pretty solid.
This actually seems totally fine. He's going to discard a Thug at least. See what the other card's going to be.
Now, after seeing that surgical extraction last game...
Bad news. Hasn't seen Nile Spellbound yet.
Yeah.
Anderson will draw. And when your opponent molds to 5, you might be a little more risky with the thing, like when you use your graveyard stuff.
Yeah, well,
less cards.
That's what Ben is saying. I have to discard this Thug here, but I really don't want to just expose my only Dredge card.
There's Polluted Delta, Inquisition of Kozilek, so Todd's going to get an idea of what he's working with. More importantly, working against. Maelstrom Pulse, Gemstone Mine, Faithless Looting.
That was really good for Todd.
Yeah, good time for a discard spell.
Well, like we said in Game 1, even though he lost Game 1, just slowing this deck down a lot is a critical component. Ben's running hot here. He milled into a Vampire and a Prized Amalgam.
and he's got a land to play. So he's going to get back Bloodghast, which means that Prize Amalgam is going to trigger. That's why you see him put it over to the side. Heck, he could even play the Thug here if he wanted to. Try to go beat down Ish.
I think you have to hold it.
Think so? In case you draw in the land for Faithless?
Yeah. You just get it back in the graveyard.
Okay. These are the difficult spots with the Dredge deck.
It is tough. He's taking a long think about just getting it onto the board.
Like, there's some appeal to, it's weird, right? There's some appeal to casting it. You've got a 2-1, a 1-1, and a 3-3 as your battlefield against nothing on turn 2 against Grixis Death Shadow. And then if you draw a third land, let's say Todd plays, I don't know, Gurmag Angler or, some big idiot, you get to pulse it if you draw a third land. And then it's like, all right, I could probably get you 3 times for 6 is 18.
Yeah.
Like, I think this might be his best chance to win. Let's see what Todd draws. Because Todd's hand doesn't look all that great to interact right now. He's got a couple copies of Serum Visions. He's pretty slow to the battlefield. Ben's got plenty of bad draws right now. He's got some good ones, too.
Yeah.
For now, Anderson's going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire. Going to take 2 more.
Ben just wants a third land right now.
Yeah, it's huge. Preferably one that enters the battlefield untapped instead of like Dalkmore Salvage, but I agree with you. I think he just wants a third land. Todd's found a copy of Tasker. Thought Scour, Nile Spellbomb, the cards he's looking at here with the Scry.
Can't imagine that Spellbomb ends up on the bottom.
That's tough. Because has Spellbomb kind of, is it still useful now?
Yeah, is it already too late, so to speak, for
yeah.
Spellbomb? I don't think so. I think, it's so tough to tell because Todd deals himself so much damage. Normally you're thinking, all right, he's got a couple of creatures on the other side. I'll play a fatty, try to fend it off. Is he going to draw a land to remove my fatty with his Maelstrom Pulse?
Mm-hmm.
How many turns do I have? If I stabilize, then the Spellbomb is spectacular. I'm going to want it every time. If I never stabilize, I'm never going to want the Spellbomb.
Ooh, we found it. Is it Static Caster too and a Spellbomb? Jeez.
He really wants another land. Like, there's just so many interesting choices.
I think Spellbomb goes top, Static Caster goes bottom, and now we're going to go over to Friedman, who will draw. Did not get a great look, but I think it may have been a land. Yeah, it looks like it was a Wooded Foothills. He's going to do the easy part, which is attack for 6. Going to bring Anderson down to 8. I hate playing the land. Do you like playing the land? Like if you don't play the land, Todd might think he's good to just play like a big fatty.
Yeah.
And then, your pulse kills his thing?
Yeah, and I mean, here it's clear as day that Todd has a stubborn denial.
It's pretty clear, yeah.
Like, there's no way he runs this course. I don't know, maybe if he had no other play, he does this. But this just screams of stubborn denial.
Yeah, now, for sure. And stubborn denial is even good in the matchup if he doesn't have a big creature.
Yeah.
We saw in game 1, it just countered a Faithless Looting.
Yeah, early in the game, Ben has to just tap out constantly.
Mm-hmm. Anderson does have Stubborn Denial at the ready. Going to try to protect this Tasigur. Friedman, we know he's got a Maelstrom Pulse. He's drawn a card for the turn. You see the battlefield. The graveyard has 2 copies of Faithless Looting. And it looks like he drew a spell in Stinkweed Imp.
Ooh, stinky.
Yeah, which, Flyer's not bad.
A little more clock in the air.
Yeah, Flyer's not bad.
It's also not good.
Yeah. There are worse things to find. So if you're Ben here, you've got Pulse, but you're pretty sure Todd has Stubborn now, so that's probably off the table. Are you attacking with anything?
Well, he can start by flashing back a Looting and see if he can bait the Stubborn Denial that way.
True.
Obviously, Todd already knows about the Maelstrom Pulse in his opponent's hand. He looked at it earlier in the game, so that might not work.
Okay.
There's another factor to consider here in that the Gemstone Mine only has 2 counters on it.
Yep.
You only have 2 spells coming, and you've got a lot of 3 Casting Gulch cards that you want to play, so you have to be very careful there. As for attacking, yes, I think I end up attacking here. All right, we're starting with the looting.
Todd says that resolves immediately. Continue your thought with the attacking. Leyline of the Void and Stinkweed, I'm going to go to the graveyard.
And we see that the Leyline showing up in the mid-game just gets discarded. There's not a lot of cost there.
And no attack.
All of these creatures are okay when they end up in the graveyard. I mean, the big worry is a card like Nile Spellbomb.
Yep.
But you feel like, if he blocks the Prized Amalgam, it's going to be coming back in the turn or two. Obviously, he's not going to block the Thug. That might have just been a free attack.
Maybe, right? Like, he probably blocks the Amalgam, takes the least amount of damage possible, falls down to 5.
But I'm saying, if Ben doesn't want the Amalgam in the graveyard, he could just be like, attack with Thug and nothing else.
Sure. If he blocks, you're happy.
Yeah.
And if he takes the damage, you're happy.
Yeah.
Either scenario is good. Okay. If he blocks, you got a Dredger in the graveyard. And if he doesn't, cool, he's at 7. You're working him down some more. Good point. Now, Todd Thought Scoured. He's got 3 cards in his graveyard. Kolaghan's Command, Scalding Tarn, and that Thought Scour. He picked up a land over these drawing of cards, so now he's got another copy of Scalding Tarn. It's in his hand.
Tons of resources to work with here. Probably not a whole lot of time to use all of them.
Well, this is classic playing against Dredge, right?
Yeah.
Normally when you lose against Dredge, you end the game with like 5 cards in your hand that don't really do very much. He's going to start by playing Nile Spellbomb.
But this is also a problem with the Grixis Death Shadow deck. In particular, it runs a lot more value cards.
Yep.
So things like Snapcaster Mage, great card. Sometimes it's just not fast enough.
Dredge, Salvage, Stomping Ground, cards off. There's a Narcomoeba, Conflagrate. Remember, the Narcomoeba trigger goes onto the stack. So it does not enter the battlefield right away, and that's why you've seen Todd wait with the Nile Spellbomb. Now what's going to be interesting here is if he's going to pay the black to draw a card from Nile Spellbomb. And there's actually 2 Narcomoebas that he's nabbed.
And that Conflagrate, that's a big one.
That's huge. So he's going to pay the black with the Nile Spellbomb to draw a card. Picked up another copy of Stubborn Now. Remember, Todd is very, very kind of resource heavy but land light. Here's Pulse. Gemstone Mine gone for good. Todd is going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn, and now he's going to play his Stubborn Denial. He's going to fall down to at least 7, and it's only going to be 7 because he's going to get a basic island.
Yeah, and I bet Ben knew this was coming and felt like he didn't really have any other play.
So Stubborn Denial does its job. Remember, Ben lost a land in that exchange.
Yes.
Anderson picks up a copy of Bloodstained Mire.
But Todd still isn't out of the woods here. He's got 1 creature. He can't start attacking yet.
He's got kind of some stinky cards in hand right now too.
He has a ton of cards to work with, but not necessarily the mana or the life total to really leverage them.
Yeah, and some of the cards, like he's got 2 copies of Thoughtseize in his hand. Those aren't cards right now.
Nope, 2 blanks.
Yep, those are not cards. He's going to fall down to 6 as he searches up a basic swamp with a Bloodstained Mire. Well, there's a Gurmag Angler.
That's a good start.
That's a card. This is a way for him to be able to start attacking. So there's the big fish. And now we pass over to Ben Friedman. He'll draw.
Look at that mouth.
Cathartic Reunion, discarding 2 cards. I want to counter that. Yeah. Boy, do I want to counter that. Yep, Stubborn Denial that.
But this is still fine for Ben. He gets his Dredge engine going again.
Yep. Todd will draw. I think he may have picked up another copy of Angler. Didn't get a great look at it. We know he's got at least 1 Thoughtseize over there in the grip, potentially 2. And now he's going to start attacking. He's going to start with Gurmag Angler coming into the red zone. Of course, Bloodghast cannot block, but Prized Amalgam and Golgari Thug can, but they elect not to. Friedman down to 11.
Yeah, the extra creatures for Todd were just critical.
Stinkweed, I'm going to do a little bit of dredging here. Narcomoeba among the cards, Conflagrate as well. Conflagrate not as great right now, only 1 card in hand here for Ben Friedman. And Todd says that's still on the stack. That Narcomoeba trigger.
Light from the Loam would be big for Ben.
He found one in that dredge.
Okay, that it's slow.
Super slow.
Super slow, but that's a way for him to generate a lot more resources than just looking at one card a turn.
Now, part of the reason that Todd did stop him is because there's the prize amalgam in the graveyard, I believe, right now for Ben Friedman.
Yep.
As Todd's taking a look at the graveyard, he might have a copy of Surgical Extraction, not entirely sure. Let's see what we have here. He's going to, looks like, kill Thug. Looks like he's actually a little unsure. So we'll get the modes on the Kolaghan's command.
Yeah, we need a little clarification here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. It's gonna be damage to Golgari Thug, so 2 damage there, and then make Ben discard a card, which would be the Stinkweed Imp. And I don't think there's much that Ben can do about this. And remember, Dredge is a replacement of the draw, so the Stinkweed Imp was in his hand. Now the Narcomoeba triggers, it's on the battlefield, and now the Prize Amalgam will trigger, so it will be entering the battlefield soon enough. Ben is empty-handed.
And the Thug triggered when it died.
Correct, so it goes back on top of his deck. Okay. Yeah, I was curious if Ben was going to make an attack here. Yeah, these two go into battle. See the life totals here, 11 for Friedman, 6 for Anderson.
Yeah, this has been really interesting.
Yeah, there's an attack. He can block Prize Amalgam, he can block Bloodghast. You block a Bloodghast, it can come back next turn because of the life loam that's in the graveyard.
Yep.
So killing that's not all that effective.
But you block the Prized Amalgam, it's going to trigger off of the other Prized Amalgam that's coming back at the end of the turn.
It's true. That's why you see him turn it sideways. So that's going to trigger, yeah, at the next upkeep.
Yeah.
That's going to come, the next end of turn, excuse me.
Correct.
That's going to come back.
Yeah, those guys are always buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Once one starts going, the other zombies aren't far behind.
Yeah, it is a relentless deck. Lightning Bolt the draw. Got to keep in mind, Ben Friedman, he knows how to play some Magic, folks. He knows how to play his deck. He's been playing Dredge for a little while. And again, this is the thing that's difficult about Dredges. As you said, once they kind of get going, Prize Amalgams come back in pairs, Conflagrate works itself into the equation, everything else, it's hard to really slow them down completely.
Well, and they use all the resources. All of the cards that some decks might draw that are dead in the mid-game, Dredge is able to leverage into resources, discarding them for effects that they actually want. It's one of the powers of the deck. How often do you see a game where a Dredge player finishes the game with 3 cards in their hand? You know, they've lost and they've got 3 or 4 cards in their hand. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, not very often.
They use all the resources.
Anderson drew a Lightning Bolt. Looks like he may have a copy of Snapcaster Mage in his hand. I think he's trying to figure out, is there a way that I can kill Ben Friedman right now? He's also looking at a Gurmag Angler. We know about the Thoughtseize. So Todd's going through the permutations here, trying to figure out what's going to happen over the course of this turn and next turn. Because it feels like the longer we go, the worse it is for Todd, actually.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's got to turn it on here. But he's asking himself, is there a way for me to not die? You know, or is there a way for me to win the game? These are kind of 2 different questions.
Mm-hmm. Here comes Gurmag Angler. Ben is going to go down to 6. Not going to block with Narcomoeba. Yeah, the relevant cards here for Anderson are Snapcaster Mage and Lightning Bolt. This would be very easy if he had another source of red mana, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Bolt you, Snapcaster Bolt you, but he's only got 1 source of red.
Well, now he's asking himself, do I deploy this Angler? Which it looks like he's going to do. Do I save the Snapcaster Bolt.
This is tough. The biggest concern, I think, because Amalgam's going to come back, right?
Yes. Yeah, it looks like his plan is to bolt Ben and just chump block with a Snapcaster that doesn't cast anything else.
Here's a dredging of Loam, Narcomoeba.
Because Todd can't wait 2 turns because the Loam potentially gets enough cards back for Conflagrate.
Yep.
And just dredging into more cards is just so dangerous, letting your opponent dredge for 2 more turns.
But he can't take 3 here. Because if he goes down to 1, he dies from Conflagrate with a Loam in hand.
Well, he does have a Stubborn Denial or Snapcaster for Stubborn Denial, one of these 2 things, I think.
So he does have, so Snapcaster plus Stubborn Denial is an option.
Yeah.
But he's got to play Snapcaster maybe right away here to be able to chump block.
Yes.
And Ben's obviously going through his permutations of what can happen here. So he's going to tackle all his creatures. I mean, that's pretty easy. He's not going to hang back. So here come the 2 Amalgams, the Narcomoeba, and the Bloodghast. Here is Snapcaster Mage.
It's going to target the Stubborn Denial.
This looks like it's going to be Lightning Bolt. Because he can also just go block, go to 1.
Yeah, take the 3. Go to 1. I have the Stubborn Denial.
That takes care of Loam or Conflagrate.
And then next turn, one of the fatties gets through. I have the Lightning Bolt to finish you off.
Okay. There's your exchange. Anderson down to 1.
He has perfect information here. He knows the card in Ben's hand.
Yep. He knows the cards in the graveyard, too. This game got complicated.
They always do.
Yeah, but it got good.
We think we know what's going to happen unless we miss something, which we never do.
There's a Bolt. Going to take care of Narcomoeba, and that'll allow Todd Anderson to attack for the victory, as he'll win this match here over Ben Friedman 2-1. Grix's Death Shadow will take care of Dredge. And though we haven't seen Todd a ton this year on the SCG Tour, he's back to his winning ways. He's 3-0 here in Baltimore.
A little bit complicated, a little bit close.
Yes, very.
Is that kind of what it looked like when you lost to him at NBA Jam?
Yeah, it was just exactly like that, actually. Super close. It was super close, yeah. But at the end, he found a way with his computer teammate to beat me.